my name is Maritza Gutierrez, and this is my discussion board post 9. So, I found that there are a lot of advantages to working in small groups, starting with the fact that the workload is able to be divided. Splitting up the work is very beneficial to many of us as we all have different classes or jobs, and it's just easier to focus on just one role instead of the entire project. Working in small groups is also very helpful because you can brainstorm with other people. You can also get perspective from others, and you can also see how other people work. And now there are also disadvantages to working in a small group because, as I stated before, we all do have different classes, or we all have a different job, or we're parents, or we live alone, so we probably work 2 jobs. So there's the downside to this is that we all have different schedules, and it's just harder to keep each other accountable for completing our roles in a timely manner. Another disadvantage is that because this is an online class, it is harder to keep each other accountable as we cannot see each other in the next class like, hey, did you finish this? Did you finish that? Because we just have to rely on technology and hope that the other person does respond. So the best advice that I could give is to have a scheduled time when everybody texts or calls or does video chat meetings, and also set hard deadlines for when everything has to be turned in. Now, for the 2 listening barriers, I picked starting with physical barriers. Physical barriers include either watching TV, being in noisy, loud environments, or listening to loud music while trying to listen to somebody else speak. Multitasking this way does not produce effective listening. I personally have had a bad habit of getting distracted when I'm in public settings like restaurants or parties, or when I have people over. We put on the TV and it can be pretty distracting, and I catch myself listening to everything around me instead of the person in front of me. One thing I can do to limit this when I'm at a restaurant is to try to focus my hearing on the one person. One thing I've found that has been effective is to look at the person's lips, essentially lip reading. It kind of serves as subtitles. And if I'm at a party, I can try to move myself to a more quiet location, or if I'm doing homework or I have somebody over, I could always put classical music or lo-fi music instead of having the TV on, so that I'm not so focused on the loud music. And another thing is the premature judgment. Premature judgment is assuming that you know what the other person is going to say, and there is no need to really listen. I've had this bad habit in the past, and I catch myself still doing this sometimes. But I used to see it as I was helping the person, because I was helping them not waste their time having to say what they wanted to, because I already assumed that I knew what they were saying. So why have to tell me again? So I will limit any barriers to avoid making the same mistake in the future by biting my tongue until the person is done speaking. Or I can simply ask, can I make a comment on that? Or, are you done with that thought? I want to make a comment, but I don't want to interrupt you, or I don't want to assume what you're going to finish saying. Now, according to the assessment on page 88 in the textbook, regardless of the fact that sometimes I do have premature judgment, according to the results in the assessment in chapter 4, I'm an empathetic listener. I feel as it is kind of accurate because I do empathize with others' situations, even if I don't fully understand them. I try to put myself in their shoes. In the textbook, it does state that the negative side effects of being an empathetic listener is you're more inclined to listen to people who are more like you based on your gender, your ethnicity, your race, and you're less empathetic to those who are different from you. I don't feel like this part really relates to me, just because, as I stated before, even if I may not fully understand the way somebody feels or the way they are, I am inclined to listen, and I try to relate in any way that I can. And if I can't relate, I simply will not make a comment until the very end and say, see, like, I just don't think that we agree on this. And if it's something that is a very touchy subject, I'd rather just not talk on it, because I don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, which is why I am an empathetic listener. Thank you.